A long, long time ago, Alcyone and Ceyx were queen and king of Thrakis, a region in ancient Greece. Under their rule, Thrakis experienced a period full of prosperity and peace, while the two of them enjoyed a fulfilling married life. In fact, they were so happy that they even playfully called each other Zeus and Hera. However, this infuriated Zeus, the king of gods, so much that he decided to punish the couple for the sacrilege. One day, Ceyx had to go to consult the oracle Apollo, but Alcyone tried to stop him, as he would have to travel through the dangerous sea. Even though his wife was begging him to take her along, he could not bring himself to place Alcyone in unnecessary danger, and left without her. As Ceyx's ship reached high seas, it was finally time for Zeus to carry out his punishment for the couple. He hurled a thunderbolt at Ceyx, sinking the whole ship along with him. Meanwhile, Alcyone eagerly awaited the return of her husband and kept praying to the gods for his safety. One night, Morpheus, the god of dreams, visited Alcyone and informed her about the death of her husband. Grief-stricken, Alcyone decided to join Ceyx and threw herself into the sea. The tragic fate of Alcyone and Ceyx profoundly moved the gods of Olympus. In fact, Zeus himself felt the need to atone for his rash actions and transformed the couple into halcyon birds, kingfishers. Ever since then, these kingfishers and their descendants had gathered 7 days before winter solstice to nest on beaches and roll their eggs into the sea. 7 days after winter solstice, the eggs would then hatch and be taken by their parents through the sea to their new home, paradise. These 14 days would eventually come to be known as halcyon days. This process repeated year after year, and soon Alcyone and Ceyx were surrounded by their steadily growing new family. Still, they could not help but think of the children Alcyone had born while still human. Leto, the goddess of motherhood, happened to overhear the pair lamenting their pain of not being given the opportunity to bid their human children farewell. Upon witnessing the sorrow, the goddess gifted each of them a magical necklace, which allowed them to take on human forms. Overjoyed, the two of them accepted the necklaces and flew off to find their children in the human world. However, disaster struck as Alcyone was hit by the arrow of a hunter. With his wife gravely wounded, Ceyx transformed into human form and desperately searched for ways to treat her wound. As fate would have it, a healer happened to be picking herbs nearby and found the man with the dying kingfisher in his hands. Seeing the pain on his face, she kind-heartedly took Alcyone in and within few days managed to nurse her back to health. At last, the winged pair flew to their children and revealed their human selves for a touching reunion, which simultaneously marked their final farewell. Having accomplished what they had set out to do, Alcyone and Ceyx no longer had any lingering attachment to the human world and decided to leave their necklaces in the hands of the kind-hearted woman who had previously tended to Alcyone's wounds before finally returning to paradise. Thenceforth, the two pendants, along with their story about two kingfishers, became heirlooms in the healer's family, which were passed from generation to generation. Over the course of many centuries, though, one of the necklaces went missing, and the story, once told as a recollection, turned into a legend which nobody believed in anymore. Until recently, the latest owner of the remaining necklace was a girl free as a bird, spending her days doing whatever piqued her interest. Lately, she had been wondering if there was more to the legend than meets the eye. At the same time, one particularly curious little kingfisher in paradise had been lurking at the gate to hear about the adventures her fellow members had experienced in the human world. Among these, she caught wind of an exceptionally interesting tale. The legend of a necklace which would let a kingfisher take on human form. Since she had yet to be declared of age, she was still forbidden from leaving paradise, but that fact did little to stop her. Unable to contain her excitement for all things related to humans, this legend prompted her to finally try to sneak out into the human world. She was caught by her brother in the act, but both of them knew that if not this time, she would surely find another way to sneak out again. Thus, he gave up on reasoning with his little sister and instead decided to tag along to make sure nothing bad happened to her. As soon as the two of them arrived in the human world, the little kingfisher felt drawn to a mysterious power, as if being called upon. Following her instinct, she flew until she came across a little wooden house. As there was no way in, she landed on the windowsill and knocked on the glass. A bewildered girl eventually opened up to let the two birds in, only for one of them to immediately rush further inside her bedroom. Hurrying after the bird, she had to shield her eyes from a dazzling light, followed by what felt like a storm of feathers. When she opened her eyes again, she was greeted by an odd sight. Covered by nothing but a few feathers, a peculiar girl sat on the floor of her bedroom, with the family heirloom in her hands. A golden necklace with a marble imbued with the color of the sea. That girl is me, Fuyumi, and that's the story of how I transformed into my human form. But something went terribly wrong, and now I can't turn back into a kingfisher unless I recover my lost feathers. Will you help me find them?